In court, my ex's lawyer said, she's broke. She can't even afford a home, or decent food and clothes for the kids. Why should she get them? The judge nodded. I stayed quiet holding back tears. Then my 7-year-old stood up and said, Mom, can I show the judge the letter I found in Dad's safe? The room fell silent. The judge read it then looked up, shocked. Even my ex went pale. Part 1. I stood there in court, trying not to cry as my ex-husband's lawyer tore me apart in front of the judge. She's broke, she can't even afford a home or decent food and clothes for the kids, she said with a smirk. Why should she get them? I clenched my jaw and stayed quiet. I could feel my hands shaking. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart. The judge nodded slowly, as if he agreed. That moment felt like the air was being sucked out of my chest. All I could think about were my children, Luca and Aria. What would happen if they were taken from me and handed over to a man who only cared about control and appearances? I couldn't afford a lawyer like his. I couldn't afford anything really. I was barely holding on, but I was here. I showed up, and I was doing everything I could for my kids. Then, just as I felt myself slipping into that quiet panic where your body is still but your thoughts are screaming, my 7-year-old son stood up. Mom, he said loud enough for the courtroom to hear, can I show the judge the letter I found in Dad's safe? The room froze. Everyone turned. Derek stiffened, his lawyer blinked like she'd just been slapped. Even the judge stopped mid-sentence. I didn't know what letter Luca meant. My heart pounded. He had never said anything about a letter, but I nodded, and as he walked toward the bench with that folded piece of paper in his small hand, everything changed. I wasn't always the kind of woman who sat in court afraid to speak. I used to be confident. I had a job I loved, friends I laughed with, dreams that felt real. But when I married Derek, things changed, slowly and then all at once. He wasn't always cruel. In the beginning, he was charming, generous, and convincing. He told me I didn't need to work. He said I should stay home, raise the kids, and let him handle the money. You've done enough, he said once. You deserve rest. I didn't realize what I was giving up when I agreed, my independence, my voice, my safety net. I became invisible in my own life. After our daughter Aria was born, Derek started changing. He was always tired, always critical. Every dollar I spent was questioned. If I bought diapers without checking the sale price first, I got silenced for hours. If I mentioned going back to work part-time, he'd remind me I didn't have a recent resume or say, we don't need your help, we need you to be a good mom. By the time he left, I had nothing, no savings, no lawyer, no one in my corner except my kids. He cut off the joint account and moved in with someone new. He hired a lawyer right away. I couldn't even afford one. I went to the free legal clinic at the county courthouse and stood in line for 2 hours holding a folder full of receipts and photos of my kids eating boxed macaroni on paper towels because we didn't have clean dishes. Our apartment was small. I worked 2 cleaning jobs under the table just to stay ahead of the rent. We didn't have cable or internet. I used a prepaid phone and hoped it wouldn't run out of minutes if the school needed to call me. I washed my kids' clothes by hand in the bathtub. Sometimes the water heater barely worked, so I'd boil water on the stove and mix it in buckets. Luca never complained. Aria would hum little songs while I scrubbed her socks. I didn't tell anyone how bad it got, not even my mother. I was too ashamed. She'd warned me about Derek years ago, said he looked at people like they were transactions, but I was too in love back then to listen. When the court date came, I was terrified. Derek had filed for full custody and claimed I was unfit. He said I was unstable, poor, and unable to provide a good life. His lawyer was brutal.